Hi guys, welcome to this tutorial. Today I'm going to focus on something I call structure tracking. So it's a focus on paper 1 question 3, the structure question, which I know lots of you do struggle with, and lots of my students find this really hard, really sort of tricky question. Structure tracking is basically just going through the source before you start writing up any kind of answer and just sort of seeing literally what structurally has a writer done, annotating your text, and then when you come to write up your answer, it's a case of going back through that. So I'm going to sort of look like literally what to start with has this writer included. Well, they've started off with setting. But we want to avoid our kind of grade 3 comments of it's setting so we know what happens. That would be true of any setting, whether it was a trench, whether it was a futuristic moonscape, or whether it, like in this case, it's the jungle. So I would be making sure that I think about the fact that it's a jungle, but also what interests me is that there are pterodactyls there, which tells me it's some sort of prehistoric jungle situation, maybe time travel is therefore involved. And I do obviously know this from the synopsis at the top, but I think that's going to be worth thinking about. Right, what does the writer do next? Right, the next structural thing I notice is the use of dialogue. And what we've got is one character basically bragging and boasting about his trophy hunting, the creatures he's killed, because everyone knows that, real men kill helpless animals. Anyway, personal thoughts aside, I'd be looking here at the I'm not zooming in on language, but I am going to think that within that dialogue he does reveal that he's killed quite emotive animals, a tiger, an elephant, and therefore as readers, how do we feel about this character? I know how I feel. I hate him. But particularly something like an elephant, a gentle creature like that. But he just revealed that now in this situation he's done all of these things, but now he's shaking like a kid. So there's something here that is creating anticipation for readers, because why is this event having such a big impact? Right, next thing I notice is there's a real sort of sense of very short sentences. In actual fact, they're very short paragraphs, aren't they? And single word even, and so there's definitely a sense here. These create a bit of a foreboding tone. We are again this sense of anticipation. Something is going to happen. There was lots of noise in the jungle, and then it's gone silent. So again, you get that juxtaposition or that contrast from the loud noise to everything quiet, and then we get this sound of thunder and the T-Rex arrives. Okay, and so really, and we always know that this question will give us a change of focus. This to me is the point at which we get the change of focus, because it stops focusing on the men and it focuses instead on the T-Rex. And the writer does a lot here. Bradbury does a lot around the physical description of its movement. We get this quite chunk here, don't we, of description, lots of listing as well. So we might want to mention the idea of the listing creates a breathless sort of tone and pace, which reflects the fact that the men are quite frightened, and also helps to reinforce the speed at which the dinosaur is running towards them. So we've got this focus here on the T-Rex, and then we go back to some dialogue, and we can see now that this dialogue is a lot less confident and is a lot more frightening, because we also get, as well as the dialogue, we get some references to the body language, showing that these men are really quite terrified of what's about to happen to them. Okay, so moving on, we kind of continue with this dialogue. I think once you've made the point about the dialogue shows that the men are frightened, do we really need to say much more about this? So I guess we could make the point that the dialogue maybe shows that sense of escalating fear. The men are getting more and more frightened, and we do get the sense as well of, the dialogue is showing us here that the danger is increasing because the dinosaur hasn't spotted them. We could mention the reference to the red paint on its chest is interesting, because we realise this makes us think about it being a target, and therefore something that is hunted, and yet it in this situation seems to be the dominant force in the jungle. Right, so then we get sort of, let's have a look, it kind of is jumping between the dialogue and the description, so we get kind of additional descriptions of the T-Rex, and we are getting again more fear from the men in the dialogue. And let's have a look, not this way. So we get the sense that there's a sense of panic. So the writer builds panic through the use of dialogue and through the use of movement. Okay. Then towards the end of this extract, we get the idea of the writer kind of structures this in a really interesting way by creating kind of or evoking the pace and the speed of the T-Rex and giving us time frame. You know, it covered 100 yards in 6 seconds, incredibly fast. But what we then get is the introduction of the gunshot, of the men trying to shoot it, and this is repeated, so we get the repeated reference to it being shot at. Interestingly, it doesn't seem to be affecting it, and it twitched it's screaming throat, so it's getting closer. What's important here structurally is that it is now incredibly close. You know, they are up close, they can see themselves in its eyes, and which they shoot. And obviously key thing here, almost in terms of an anticlimax at the end, I think it's sort of anticlimactic, is the Tyrannosaurus fell. So they were successful in that, and then they managed to shoot it, they managed to bring it down once they shot it in its eye. But this kind of pace slows down like a stone idol, like a mountain avalanche, Tyrannosaurus fell. And it has that sort of slower tone towards the end. Okay, so I'm going to, in the next tutorial, I'm going to just show you how I start my answer to this question, but please have a go at doing structure tracking like I've done. It's really helpful for you to think about the way a text has been built, the way it's been put together, and it kind of helps you in terms of structuring your answer. Thanks for watching.